My name's Noah Hoffman, and I'm part of Medivacc. We're also Group 40, and our goal was to provide freedom and security to people with diabetes by making a better, portable cooling system. There were three main people on this project. There was Ben Golden, who was the hardware lead, who dealt with the power supply, data visualization, sensors, and control panel. Me, Noah Hoffman, who mostly focused on the R&D around the heatsink hydrogel, enclosure, microcontroller, and Peltier driver. While Wei Hao Kwong was the software lead who dealt with batteries, battery protection and management, firmware, and the Peltier cooler module. So our project as a whole is an alternative for people with diabetes to keep their insulin safe. The only alternatives out there are either way too large and expensive or only last for less than a day. The goal of Medivacc was to provide a portable cooling system for a reasonable price that had 7+ days of operation and still was durable, waterproof, and portable, so that the diabetic knew that their insulin was safe. This is where we got into our block diagram and our main design. This is where we split it up into several different portions. The light blue is an electrical block and contained things such as batteries, power supply, microcontroller, and the active cooling system itself. While the pink was a software block that was more programming based and was something like the firmware or the data visualization. And then all of this was inside of the larger kind of peach colored block, which was the enclosure.
And here we have the battery management system. This is responsible for managing the power that goes into the batteries and the power that comes out of the batteries. This will keep the battery pack from overcharging and over discharging. This keeps the battery safe when we're charging it and then when we're using it as well. Next, we have the power supply. On our power supply, there's a 5-volt rail and a 12-volt rail. The 12-volt rail powers the Peltier cooler that cools the system. And then we have the 5-volt rail powering the rest of the electronics of the system, such as the microcontroller and the rest of the sensors.
So the next group of blocks that we have for our system consists of the sensors, firmware, and part of the microcontroller. And this group of blocks was responsible for gathering data on temperature, humidity, current draw, and voltage level of the batteries. The next group of blocks that we have for our system was responsible for actually changing the temperature inside the insulin container. And this was done with a thermoelectric cooler, and the heatsink and hydrogels were used to efficiently cool the cooler while it was in operation. Next, we have the system interface, which consists of an LCD screen with push buttons and a switch so that the user can view the battery percentage of the system, view the temperature of the insulin container, and then turn off the system if they choose to do so.
Hi, this is a quick system demonstration of the Medivacc cooler. First thing I want to point out is that to control the system, you have to use this control panel right here, the on-off switches right here, as well as temperature controls for the system. When you want to turn the device off, just flip the switch right here. You can also use these buttons right here to control the threshold temperature of the system and change whatever temperature you want to cool your medication at. Okay, in the back we have the medication access where we can just pop that lid open, and we have two bottles of medication that come out. Currently, our system can hold up to 2 vials of medication at any given time. Just put that lid back on and keep things cool. And normally, like when you use the system, all you have to do is just use the cap and the control panel in the front. Those are the only things you have to access and use whenever you're normally using the system. But when the battery does run out, all you'd have to do is just pop the battery pack out and then pop the lid open, and then you access this JST right here. Just put this onto a power supply and charge it for like an hour and a half, and that's usually a full charge. So when you want to put the system back together, all you have to do is just put the lid back on and just pop these two latches on like that, and then you're fine, you're ready to go. Looking back on some of the successes that we have achieved on the system, we were able to modularize our electronics and our enclosure. We were able to create our own proprietary electronics for the system, which included the power supply, the driver, the control panel, as well as the sensor boards. We were able to create our own prototype by the end of fall term to help with our designing and our debugging. Next steps, that we plan to take are improving design for manufacturing, iterate on the passive cooling technologies, as well as using our own microcontroller for our design hardware. And last but not least, a special thank you to Oregon State College of Engineering, EECS, for this opportunity to explore this topic in electrical engineering, and Brian McInnes and the Medivacc team for their continued support throughout this project's life cycle, as well as Don here and Rachel Kate for leading us through the senior capstone course.